Ambassador HKU, thank you for granting NewsWatch Plus this interview.
Thank you, Tristan. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
So let me begin with this. The Philippine-Australia relations are leveling up, and President Bongbong Marcos and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese are both committed to a strategic partnership. Could you tell us more about the progress of this partnership?
Well, as you know, it was signed in September by both our leaders, and since then, I think it's fair to say we've seen strategic partnership in action in all fronts. That has actually led to further cooperation in new areas like cybersecurity and technology, civil maritime security, and even competition policy. And that's without even mentioning good work we're doing in the development space, and in particular in improving productivity of the agricultural sector in the Philippines.
Now let's zero in on preserving the international rules-based order. Could you reiterate the position of the Australian government when it comes to the situation in the West Philippine Sea or in the Greater South China Sea?
Of course, very happy to reiterate Australian government's position on this, which has been consistent, which is that the rules-based order has to prevail. When it comes to freedom of navigation and overflight, that is in the interest of everyone in the world, and in particular when it comes to the South China Sea. For a country like Australia, where we rely heavily on our exports and especially shipping lanes to ensure prosperity for our nation, it's extremely important that the South China Sea remains open to the global community, and that it is ruled by UNCLOS, UN's Convention on Law of the Sea. It makes very clear, what is allowed and what isn't, and it is in everyone's interest that the UNCLOS prevails and that we protect the rules-based order.
So how does Australia view the assertive transparency approach of the Marcos administration when it comes to exposing illegal activities in the South China Sea?
I think that's best answered by pointing you to all the tweets that I've been issuing following Marcos administration's statements about the behaviours and about the concerns that they've observed in the West Philippine Sea. Clearly, Australian government is supportive of the Philippine government's policy and actions in this front, and we are there expressing our support every time there are tensions, there are incidents. We have been one of the first countries to go out and express our support.
But what is your expectations, or what are your biggest concern if the escalations, if the situation escalates further?
We should all agree when we can and disagree when we must, and always work in the national interest. That applies to all relationships, and I think there lies hopefully some solution to ensuring that we actually prevent conflict together.
How about emerging alliances in the region? So we have the Quad, which is composed of the US, Australia, Japan, and India. Then you have AUKUS, composed of Australia, United Kingdom, and the United States. And very recently, the announcement of the Squad, which is composed of the US, Australia, Japan, and the Philippines. How do you view these alliances?
The grouping of countries, Australian government has always said it's really important that we work closely with our like-mindeds, and it's important that we respect bilaterals and multilaterals in achieving our objective of securing prosperous, stable, and peaceful region, the one that we all want to live in. So the way we think of the different groupings of countries to work together on common objectives is that it should absolutely be done, particularly when it's in all our national interest. I guess one thing that I would perhaps address around AUKUS is that, as you know, AUKUS is not really a normative grouping. It's more of a group of countries that's come together first and foremost to provide Australia with nuclear-powered submarine capabilities. So that's their number one priority to begin with, that grouping's priority.
And I can also recall during our first interview wherein you also spoke extensively about AUKUS.
Yes.
And you've mentioned that you have to be a credible partner first so that you can be a credible partner to the Philippines. And you have to establish first your defense capabilities as well.
That's right.
Okay. How about, I want to go a little bit more specific on maritime security cooperation. What can we expect, at least from between the Philippines and Australia in terms of this area? And are we also looking at more maritime cooperative activities with other countries, specifically in the West Philippine Sea, like joint patrols?
Well, as you know, we've already done so much in this space. We did our first joint activity in West Philippine Sea in November last year with the Philippines, and then in April this year there was a 4-country activity: the US, Japan, Australia and the Philippines. These are the kind of things that Australia does normally, and we expect that there will be more of these activities coming forward. It's it's difficult for me to say exactly when and how, and of course we wouldn't actually discuss that openly, but this sense of cooperation that we bring to the Philippines when it comes to maritime security cooperation, it's there and it's been there for a long time. We are doing more and more with PCG. Our foreign minister, when she was here, announced a number of initiatives where we're providing equipment like drones to PCG, as well as running special training and capacity building programs for the PCG. So those things are expanding, and certainly even at the embassy, we will be seeing increase in our resources with a permanent ABF officer posted in Manila, so he can actually work more closely with the PCG. So ABF for us is the Australia Border Force, and we will have a person from the Australia Border Force permanently posted in the Philippines to work closely with PCG. So you can see that we're doing a whole lot in this in the maritime security space. But it doesn't just end there. Our work in maritime space goes well beyond security cooperation, and that's where I get really excited because the rules-based order should apply just as much to environmental issues, right? To how we fish, to how we utilize our oceans. And that's where Australia has been very active.
Right. So Ambassador HKU, thank you for granting this interview, this part of the interview.
No problems at all, Tristan.
All right.